Alright, so this week's lesson is going to be a little different than usual. My original idea here was to take a particular guitarist and write a song in the style of that guitarist. So the guitarist I settled on was John Frusciante from the Chili Peppers because most people know him and his style is very unique. So as I went through this, I started out with a bunch of techniques that he might use in his songs. What came out was actually a little bit different, or quite a bit different, than what you might hear on a Chili Peppers song. But I think it's a great lesson that sort of shows you how creativity works. So we're taking things that are in another guitarist style, or how they particularly play, and changing them a bit to suit how I play or you play. And from there, you can sort of take things from where you might think they originate to somewhere completely new, right? So you can take influences from a certain guitarist, a certain song, whatever it might be, and those original influences can be shifted and altered and combined with other things to make a completely new thing. And that's how creativity works, right? That's how new songs come out, new styles, new genres. They work through that exact process. So let's just take a listen to the piece here, and then we'll dive in and talk about the song, what I was thinking when I was creating it. Now that we've heard the piece we're going to be looking at today, let's just take a second and I'll talk a bit about what I was thinking when I first started this piece, when I first started writing this piece. So, the guitarist I settled on for this exercise here was John Frusciante. And there's a few things that I knew about his playing. So one is that he plays in the Hendrix style with a thumb over top. And so a lot of his chord shapes and stuff are influenced by that. The other thing I knew is that it's a very funky style, but he also uses arpeggios and a whole bunch of cool things, minor pentatonic scales. And so all those things started coming to my mind. And what first came to my mind was the song Can't Stop. Now I'm obviously butchering the way he plays it, but when he strums this, he's strumming, not picking, like when I first played it there, I was just picking the notes. But he's strumming as he picks those notes. So that's the first thing I was thinking. Okay, I have to make I want to make a riff where I can actually, strum through the notes that I'm picking. And that means I have to block a bunch of strings. So certain guitarists like John Frusciante, Stevie Ray Vaughan will do this where they basically will strum all the strings and play. Give that really percussive sound to their playing. So that was the first thing. And trying to create that riff, I was thinking B minor is the first chord I want to play. So now this sort of comes from Can't Stop being on the 7th fret. It's okay, B minor, first place in the beat. And so this little riff, this came out of like the pentatonic scale, right? So if you look closely at my hand here, 7th fret on the lowest string, string number 6. Now the rhythm can change here a bit, so you can play around with how many times you pick the note, but 4 times on the low E string, 7th fret, B, the B note. And I'm trying to block everything out, so you'll see the way I'm playing here, like that. Now, if it was Frusciante doing it, he'd probably use his thumb, but for me, I'm more comfortable using my index. So even though this is based on what Frusciante's style might be, for me, I'm just playing it the way that it comes more naturally to me. And the next note I'm playing is the 9th fret on string number 4. So it's the octave. You can see when I'm strumming, I'm actually only hitting the string, or only hearing that string, but I'm blocking out the other strings, muting them with my fingers. So we're playing the 9th fret, string number 4. And if we were to count it, we have 4 times here, 2 mutes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 8 times to the 7th fret on string number 4, and 9th fret string 5. So as a general idea, that's sort of how I'm playing through it. But it will change. It'll depend on how many times I play through that and how long you let me play that for. It will change a bit. So obviously it will vary over time. But that's sort of what's on the recording there. And sometimes I'll miss a strum just to give it some more flair. The next note, we're going to go to the 10th fret, so it's a D. I'm singing D chord next, right? So same kind of rhythm, 4 times. Then the octave again. But instead of going, that doesn't work, so I wanted to go down. Those are the notes that sounded good to my ear. So from D to C sharp to B. Whatever way you want to play through it. All right, so that sort of worked pretty cool. As I worked it out, those ended up being the notes that I chose. And keep in mind, something to point out here. So, I'm a big advocate of learning theory, knowing scales, all that kind of stuff. But when I was writing this, in the moment of writing this, I'm not thinking about the individual scales. My fingers know where those notes are because I've worked on them so much. So knowing the scales in the moment, I'm not thinking, okay, I'm going to play this particular scale. It's what sort of comes naturally, intuitively over time as you practice those things. So don't think you need to be thinking of all those individual details as you're writing something. So after I play this, and then I go down to an A. So the next chord I decided on was an A after the D. B minor, D, A. And what I did from here, the note that I wanted to hear was this note here. All right, so the C sharp on string number, C sharp on string number 3, but I don't want to play it there. It's an awkward, doesn't sound good to me. So I went up and played it on the 11th fret of string number 4. And then what I did is I went to the 12th fret as a little flair, a little bit of an embellishment. And then I went to the 3rd fret, so G. And this time I went from the same 2 notes I started with, 9th fret, so the B note. And I go to the A note, back to the B note. Now keep in mind, with that kind of style too, it can be really easy to make mistakes and hear strings that you don't want to hear and to get open strings that aren't perfect. So definitely a little bit of practice with this, and when I was going through recording this, just trying to really work out how I wanted to hold the notes, how I wanted to play them, how much intensity I had there. So that's like the first part of the layer. Now the second layer, influenced by the song Snow. That's way faster than I'm going to play here, but listening to all the Chili Peppers stuff, I love arpeggios and hearing those kind of chord shapes that are in there. And so on top, I wanted to arpeggiate the same chords we were playing. So B minor, D, A, and G. So what I chose to do, I played up this B minor, right in the same position as we started. So I went up from 3rd string, 7, 7, 7 on string 3, 2, and 1. So we have D, F sharp, B. And then we ended up on a D note again. So the same notes from the D chord, the B minor chord. And then basically I paused there for an extra 8th note. I think I did a pull off there. Then I slide in to the 11th fret on string number 3 for the D major arpeggio. Okay, so I'm going to go F sharp, A, D, F sharp. And for this, to get the nice notes ringing out instead of going, I don't want it separated. I want it to ring like a chord. I have to hold the chord down. And then for the D, usually I play a D like this, but I wanted to get, not the D, I should say, the A, the D shape, but the A chord. I wanted to get this note on top ringing out, so I'm playing the 9th fret string number 3, 10th fret string 2, 9th fret string 1, 12th fret string number 1. So I'm going to hold that down with the index finger in middle, like the index is barring. Same rhythm. And I come down 2 frets for the G chord. All right, so those two things together sound pretty cool, right? So as a final layer, I just wanted to add in some chords. So just to give it, some nice background, instead of just having the riff on the bottom end and then the arpeggios on top, give it some chords. So I just strummed each chord once, okay? So a lot of times when people are first learning the guitar, they're afraid to strum chords just once. What I tell everyone is that being able to strum a chord once, like just one time, let's say let it ring out for a full whole note, like a full measure, it's much harder than you might think. And to actually have the courage to do that and not be like, okay, I'm just playing something really simple, to do that and be able to pull it off and make it sound really good, I think that's a really important thing to be able to do. So don't be afraid to strum chords one time per measure to get those changes down, if that's the point you're at. But I wanted to add that in the background just to let it ring out. And I didn't want to add more busyness. I just wanted to add the chord as a layer, as a texture layer. So I just wanted B minor as a bar chord, okay? D as an open chord, A as an open chord, and then G. I did the 4-finger G, but whatever G you want to do. And so really all that is there is just adding an extra layer on top. And usually before the chord comes in, I'm doing a little bit of a percussive strum to mask the transition. And so those are my 3 layers, where that part with the should play a little more cleaner, but those are the 2 ideas to start off, right? And then the third one. All right, now the 4th layer of my own instruments here, the 4th layer added on, was just literally a MIDI keyboard just to give some bass, because I don't have my bass here today. So I just threw on some root notes as a dotted chord, and then a quarter note. So B, D, A, G. Simple. Looped it, added it on. And so the 4th and final layer were the drums. And I just added in a nice simple Logic drum track and just let the drummer do this work for this. So I didn't do too much programming here. Just made it very simple so I can make this track and let you hear it. So on top of that, then I went in and did a nice solo as the, I guess we'll say layer number 6. Okay, so the solo I'm doing there is all improvised, and you can check that if you don't see it here. I'll include it also as a link in the description below, so you can see the full solo added on there. Most likely in the example here, I'll just have to cut it off because the most important part of those 3 guitar layers, right? So the solo that was added on is all B minor pentatonic to start, and then from there I'm adding other notes in as I feel fit. So from the B natural minor scale, anything that works. But yeah, that's how I sort of put that together. So I'd love to hear from you. Like, what do you think this turned out like? Does it sound like a Chili Peppers or Frusciante lick, or does it turn out to be something completely different? And what does it sound like to you? So let me know in the comments below. If you like this, give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel for more videos like this each week, and I'll be seeing you very soon.